Check 1 2, check 1 2. Mommy on the rocks. Casey Chops. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at MIA on the rocks. Follow us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Today's guest, I have a very highly successful entrepreneur in the building. Yosef Martin. How are you, sir?
What's up, brother?
Good to see you, brother.
Good.
So for the people that don't know, let's just lay the foundation on who you are. Shout out to Lena. I DJ'd a party that she had, and it was at your house, and it was a beautiful place in Los Olas on the water. I think it's safe to say it's a mansion. And so I was asking her, I'm like, oh, wow, like who owns this house? And she was telling me about you. And, you know, she does makeup. My sister does makeup as well. And you have BoxyCharm. Can you talk about what you did with makeup? You basically put together a subscription-based makeup kit that comes with 5 items, I believe, and then that got so popular and you sold it for
500 million.
500 million?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Like I said, I only wanted to do minimal research on you because I wanted you to kind of like tell the people, you know, and I wanted to kind of learn as we were going. So, can you talk about okay, so you sold and flipped BoxyCharm, correct? Yeah. For $500 million. Let's go to your origins. Where exactly are you from?
I'm from Israel.
Israel. Yeah. Okay. And you grew up in Israel?
Yeah, I've been there. I've been living here for 20 years, roughly 20 years. And I finished military service. I stayed a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. It's a mandatory thing. Everyone has to serve.
Right.
When I finished, I stayed 2 more years. I think I came here when I was 23. Mm-hmm. And now, 21 years later, I'm here.
Wow, bro. So what were you doing when you came over here? Like you were 23 years old. What was...
So I went to the FIU. I studied. I was international student. Actually, I wasn't. I was on a student status. Mm-hmm. I came as a tourist. I came a couple of days after 9/11, so I came as a tourist, but I changed my status to a student. Mm. And my entire purpose of it was I didn't really care what I'm going to study. I just want to stay here and get a bachelor in whatever, mm-hmm. so I can be legal and eventually get papers through the bachelor that I'm studying for. And that's how I opened my first company. And then through that company, I opened BoxyCharm years later.
Wow. So what made you want to get into makeup, bro? Like what took you down that direction?
It started with, so first I had, when I started my first company, I started with $375. Mm-hmm. So I can pay the out-of-state tuition. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you're an international student, you don't really get any scholarships, nothing, no financial aids. You got to pay. And that's fair because, you know what, it's supposed to be like that. Mm-hmm. And that was the best thing that happened to me because it pushes you to be the best version of yourself.
Right.
Instead of searching for a job, I had one way to actually produce money. You can create a business and you can draw. You cannot take a salary because it's illegal for you to work, but you can draw, which means the tax implications are higher than actually getting salary, and you don't get any health benefits unless you overpay and all that good stuff. But it was the best thing that happened because that's when I opened my first company with a couple $100 called Merchandise Liquidators. Right, and that company, I was selling excess inventory from Macy's, Bloomingdale's, Sears.
You were how old?
JCPenney. 24, 5 at that time.
24, 25. So the idea of your first company is you're going to sell excess clothes from these stores.
Yeah, so I'm getting the lists. I was getting the lists from the Federated stores, which is Macy's, Bloomingdale's, and so on, from Walmart, from CVS, all those, right? You get all those lists. I would get the list and I would put it on a nice, presentable website with a much better explanation. Mm-hmm. And I would say, we have a truckload of XYZ, and I would receive the money, then go and buy it. Because I didn't have money to buy anything. I didn't even have a location. I was doing it from my 1-bedroom apartment.
Right.
And I started flipping deals for $20,000 here, $20,000 there, and each time you make the spread. Not all deals were in that price range, but that's what allowed me to pay the out-of-state tuition so I can get out of the life of eating rice and ketchup.
Right.
Right? And all that. So that was my first part. Into it, eventually I got to a point where I had some more cash and I said, okay, what do I buy that I know I'm always going to sell and I can technically buy. Now I have a little bit of money from saving. And if I had to kind of like grow my business, can I buy something that I know I can worry about selling it later and not flipping it? And I started doing that, and I got my first warehouse, which was actually a storage, but I used to call it a warehouse, and little by little it grow. But really the spike and the growth for that business was when I graduated. When I got my degree, I had 1 year, and they call it OPT, where you're allowed to work or search for a job, or whatever, you're allowed to stay here. And at that time, I also met my wife, now my ex, but she was with me, and we ended up getting married. But the entire purpose was that I'll be studying business so I can hire myself in my own business. But then that didn't happen because everything changed, rules changed. Now I wasn't able to do it, and I was either going back to school or going back to Israel. So I didn't want to do that, and I ended up building. I got married, thank God. But through that business, I found that makeup is the shit. There's so much fucking money in makeup. What I understood is that women they're wired different than the male consumer.
100%.
You and I, if you want to go, it started with clothing. When I looked at clothing, I asked myself, why is it that Macy's have so much excess inventory and or customer return for women, but barely for men? And when you buy the customer return from Macy's, the clothing for women versus the men, first of all, the men is in a much better condition, but there's barely anything. Women, they have endless, but you get a dump about a third of it. Like I'm talking, take it in third. And the reason is, at least back then, you had 180 days to return your item. So when I called them and I said, guys, why am I not getting more listing for men's clothes? And they told me, Joe, because there's not a lot. Have you walked into Macy's? The men's department is by far smaller because women, they're like, look, a man walks in, the shopping behavior for men is you walk in, you want to buy a belt, you go and you buy a belt.
And you leave, yeah.
And you leave. A woman walks in without any idea to buy anything, but she leaves with 5 items that she didn't even want.
I forgot the stat, but I think they said women are like 80% of the consumer base in the United States. And then within a family, the women will spend or will control 90% of that family's cash flow of where it's going to go.
They're also very detail oriented. You and I can never see so many colors like a woman can.
Yeah.
If you go and you see a blue, she's going to say, no, that's not the blue. This is something, she would give it another 16 different names for blue, right?
Right.
So they're so specific about everything. And then when I noticed that, by the way, about returning stuff, that's actually the funniest part. When they explained to me Macy's, I said, why is the garbage when I see all the women's clothes compared to the men, it's so clean? I said, well, because, women will buy the clothes today. They're going to work for 2 months. And 2 months later, they're going to feel they're not pretty, they hate everybody, they're going to go and return. Man, he comes, try it on. If it's not the right size, because he was too lazy to try in the store, he's going to go and return it. So it's like a perfect condition. So a different behavior.
So, oh, damn, is that a fact that women return more than men? Is that?
Look, I can tell you that because they also buy so much more, by far more returns. But women would go through that. Like they know they buy so much, so they'll return. They return a lot.
Right.
I don't have actual data. This is literally conversation. But from buying truckloads and truckloads of inventory,
right,
it's just two different consumers.
For sure.
It's just two different consumers. The thing for me when it comes down to makeup, what I had over there was that I started selling makeup by mistake when I had the liquidation, and I got a pallet. So when you get the merchandise, you get it in pallets. So it's kind of like a wooden skid with either a big Gaylor box or multiple boxes that compose a pallet that can be, say, 2 feet high, 6 feet high, whatever. And I used to sell some pallets that are about 6 feet high with some shampoos, and people like those. I used to sell in a flea market. And I used to double my money, buy it for $750, sell it for $1,500. People were waiting for it. And every time I could get some, I would buy them and flip them. One day, the same eyeshadow palette comes in, but instead of being 6 feet, being the eyeshadow palette, I'm sorry, the skid, the palette comes in, instead of 6 feet, it was 3 feet, 2.5 feet.
Wow.
So when I opened this, instead of having shampoos, what I saw was actual makeup. It was lipsticks and stuff like that. And I thought it was garbage. I said, well, what is this? I'm going to lose money on it. Maybe I can sell it for $200 or something. And I had one employee at the time. Her name was Angela. And she said, what are you talking about? This is better. Like, how is it better? Look, it's a bunch of, what is this? It's like stuff, small stuff. She said, yeah, but that's better. We can sell it each piece for $1 and we can make more money. Like $1? Who's going to pay for it $1? Like, do you know what it costs in a store? said, no, but it looks like 5 cents. She's like, no, this is like $5, $10. I said, it's impossible. Look, a shampoo is this big and it's $2, and the lipstick is this big, so it needs to be like 5 cents.
Yeah.
She's like, you don't know anything about it. It's like, I don't. It's like, well, you see here's the sticker prices. We sold everything for $1. There were 10,000 units in it. We made $10,000 in a second.
Wow.
That's when I changed. And then I understood all my competitors were all guys. They didn't know any better than me. I didn't know better than them until it hit me. I have no competition in makeup.
Right. Because
boom, that's how I got into it. So I was all about the makeup. My liquidation business transformed, and it was growing from $1 million to $2 million to $5 million to $10 million year over year because of the makeup.
wow.
And that's when I bought a bunch of domains like wholesalecosmetics.com. So if you search for makeup, you would find one of my sites. All roads leads to Joe.
Right.
So finally, I got a call in 2012 that they were looking for makeup for a subscription box. And when I heard about the concept, I looked at this and I said, "Oh, how are they doing it? They're looking for free stuff from brands, and when they can."
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but when did you sell this? When did you make this idea?
So BoxyCharm had a soft launch in 2013, but full launch January 2014, and we sold it we signed the papers on November 2020. We get the wire into our bank account in December 2020.
Wow, because I feel like you were ahead of the game as far as like subscription-based businesses go.
No, it was absolutely not.
It seems like maybe 5 years is when everything became subscription-based. Everything, like, if you want Coca-Cola, they're going to try to sell you. They're going to take your credit card information. They're going to want to scan it once a month and ship you Coca-Cola. Like it seemed like things got very subscription-based, like in the last 5 years. But
yeah, no, that's true. So I see so 2014, 2015 were the years of the subscription. Everyone and their mama were trying to come up with subscription. But when you look at when you give that example, if you look at Adobe, back then you were buying Adobe as a software one time. You paid.
Now I got to pay $20 a month.
Okay, why? Because they want to keep the relationship with the consumer, and they can upsell you, and there's a lot more that they can do by actually letting you buy it little by little. Instead of you paying $300 and that's it, we never hear from you, they rather spread it out. And every time, in order for you to use it, when there is a new version, you have to go and upgrade it.
But update it, you don't have to buy the new version.
Exactly. And there is no physical anything. There is no, because the actual 300 that was going through different vendors, and the cut was. But in our case, the monthly beauty subscription box started in 2010. I really launched it in 2014. I was not the first one, but the gap. There was still the same gap. No one changed anything from 2010. All the other companies that came in to compete in the space, none of them truly changed the concept that started in 2010. They did the same exact thing, which was we're asking a brand to give us free samples so we can give it to highly engaged consumers, and eventually they're going to get to know their products and go back and buy it. The way I did this was, no, I'm going to find the economics where I can buy from the brands. I will pay them the manufacturing cost for their products, and we're going to ask for full size. This way, because I can pay, I can be selective over what items am I getting. And the brand doesn't have to accord any cost. Now I'm giving you for free the ability to let highly engaged consumer try your product. It costs you absolutely nothing. But why is it important to do it full size and not sample size? Because first of all, it's a product development. Not every SKU brand has a sample size for it. So I'm not asking you to go and create one. Second, there's much more perceived value for the consumer, and you can get a full experience out of the product and can truly fall in love. We're able to transform companies. Companies that were playing with BoxyCharm in the beginning when we had even 100,000 members. We ended up having over 1 million. There would
1 million subscribers.
More. We every month. But at the end, people would come and say, listen, we blew up in Sephora because of you. This is so because people truly like their product. So now their gondola in Sephora is a destination, and that was really making the. So we really transformed. We really changed the name of the game, even though we came 4 years later or 3 years after the whole concept started. So it was not the first one, but there was an angle to fix it. There was a gap that we needed to bridge, and we did do it. And the crazy part for me, I mean, look. Sephora was trying to launch. They launched a box. Macy's launched a box. They all failed. There was only a few of us that made it. Ipsy, BoxyCharm, and other companies. So only few. And it was a tough business because you have to be a logistic company. You know, building 1 million boxes within a matter of 10 to 14 days.
It's crazy. Where were they getting manufactured at?
So you work with the brands, right? Mac, all the brands you can imagine.
Right.
Where you walk into Sephora, you see all those brands and many others. They send you the products. You have to assemble them, and then you need to have, using your information, giving the right consumer at the right time the right boxes.
Right.
So you have to work.
Were these being assembled where? In Florida?
Well, no, it was outside of Florida. We had that built in a different state, but it's a mission, right? You have to have hundreds of people coming in, assembling all the boxes, putting it. So on one hand, it's a logistic company. On the other hand, it's a technology company. And on the other hand, it's a marketing company.
Right.
It's marketing for the brand. We would send boxes to 2,000 influencers every month, including Kylie Jenner.
Right.
Right, and they would all open it up and talk about this, and we had to strategize that. Like lots of marketing strategies. I can talk about this all day long. So we had all that. Plus, we had to understand makeup, beauty, skincare. So it wasn't an easy business to understand. That's why many people try to get into it, but only few came out strong from the other side.
When you first started it, what were the items in the box that you first?
Oh well.
You probably are like a makeup connoisseur now, right?
I mean, look, I mean, I know everything. I mean, I can tell you I've done this so long, and I was really into the products by myself. I had to fly to labs all over the world. I had to go and talk to brands. I mean, fly, meet with them, dinners, everything. So at first, we had almost no pool of brands that want to work with us because we had to explain to them what is a subscription box and why would they give it to us and how. And then at first they would rip us with pricing, some of them at least. We didn't know what does it cost to make, say, a lipstick. Oh, $2.50. Then you find out it's no more than 60 cents years later, which is much more expensive. Like, okay, you made some money over here. But yeah, you grow, you learn, and it's important. But the experience was amazing.
Right. And so this was like, you said you sold it in 2020. This is like a 10-year tenure?
Well, we had about 7 years business.
7 years.
Yeah.
Wow, man, that's crazy. So when you sell it, did you have a partner in this, or were you kind of doing this?
So in 2016, I brought in amazing partners, Carp Riley Investment Group. You know, you kind of like think about investors kind of like as numbers people that they were amazing. They are friends, we're still friends, very close friends. And I can say that BoxyCharm at the end was close to 500 million in sales every year. And you don't wake up one day and figuring out how to manage so many people and how to
to scale that, I couldn't imagine.
I needed them as partners to kind of like give you a kind of like from their experience when they work with companies, like, look, this is what we've seen when a company get to 50 million. Because 5 million is not a $50 million business, and it's not going to be 100 million, and it's not going to be 500 million. So there's going to be an evolution that has to happen in the company. But what I learned is that it has to happen within yourself, right? Within me. I'm no longer the same person that I was when we were a smaller business. And the thing is, you do need some.
Can you explain that a little bit more? What do you mean, like?
You transform. Well, what you've seen, your perspective is different. You don't just read about this; you actually go through this.
Right. You learn as you go. So
you embrace.
Gotcha.
You embrace. I can go and teach you right now. I can tell you everything I did, but if I tell you, look, be careful from people that do X, Y, Z, right? You'll remember that. Okay, I can teach you about this. But until you actually go through this and you get to experience it.
You could tell the kid the stove is hot, but until he gets burned, he's not going to really learn.
There's a difference between learn and embrace.
Yeah.
Right? So if you embrace, you kind of like curve it in your DNA. It would go to your children. It's going to be passed on generations. It's one of those experiences. And you need to go through that. You need to have that experience where you're going to run through some snakes. You're going to run through some people that are insecure, but they have the best ideas. And you said, wow, I found out that quiet individual in the group that doesn't say much might come back. Just that's the typical introvert, but they might have those awesome
genius
ideas.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like, don't let that person that's louder be the one that dictate what's going to happen. They might not be the most creative. Don't let him shush everybody else, okay? So just then you have a different dynamic in a group. You let everybody speak. Then, okay, now everyone's much more content. Now everybody feels more, okay, now I was able to push that information. I think the best part was when you grow from a small business, that you have, say, 15 employees, right? Doesn't matter how much you grow, right? So 15 employees, it's kind of like you and then everyone else under you, right? It's very, very flat organization to a point where it's a tiered organization with, say, over 100 or 200 or 1,000 employees. It doesn't matter at that point, right? It's you, then there's going to be a couple of people under you, one or two, then there's going to be another layer and another layer. How do you get them all to be as effective? It's very hard. Because when it's a small group, everyone is super efficient, super effective. Right? Everyone knows what to do, everybody understands it. But when it's a big organization, that's when you start losing it.
Right. I think they said like 20%, the top 20% of people are going to do like 80% of the work.
All right. So the actual rule, and I love that you said that, not too many people hear about it, it's the square root of your employees will do 50% of your work.
Right, I've heard.
So if you have 4 people, 2 of them will do 50%. Perfect.
Right.
But now if you have 100, 10 will do 50%. If you have 1,000, 33 will do. They say that if you go global and you have 7 billion people, a small town with 40,000 people will do 50% of the world's population.
What is that law? I forgot what it's called, but yeah, it's something to where like allocate, like most music artists, only 10% are going to get 80% of the hits. Whether it's basketball, the top 20% are going to get 80%.
How many billionaires you have? How many? Right? It's a small group of people that control.
That produce the most.
Produce the most, exactly. But a unicorn company is not like that. Go to Tesla. Go to SpaceX. Every person is absolutely ambitious. Every person. And it's not because they picked better. Not only. It's mostly because the people are so involved, they care about this, they sleep, they think, they drink just about because they feel they're part of something.
So I take it you're an Elon fan.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big Elon fan. Like, 100%. I'm about to just put my whole life in Elon, like in stocks, bro. But yeah, like, because he's an actual engineer. The owner of the company is the actual engineer. He's not like a suit that's like
he's
similar
also
to you.
A product person, exactly. He has to understand.
He knows how to build the car from the ground up, you know? The guy who owns it at the top. And that's
so when you get yourself a business, and one day you're going to run a big business, remember this, okay? If you want everyone to be as excited, you want to get the most out of people, 110% from every individual. First, it starts with where are you going? That's your goal. The company has to have a goal.
And sell their employees the goal. They got to feel like they're part of the...
We all have to believe that this is what we're doing. So I had to have a goal. And when I had 15 people, I said, okay, I'm doing okay, but I feel like I'm like a chicken with his head cut off. I have to go and tell them this one yes, this one no. I need them all to get into my head. So I had a good friend that she said, you got to go and write down the goal for yourself. Because you know it, but you're not saying it to yourself. If you say it to yourself, you can tell this to them. Then come up with 4 strategies how to reach that goal. Okay, now you know where you're heading, and then you know how to get there. Because if I tell you the goal is to grow, which that was our goal, it's like 30,000 feet high. You can get lost.
Right.
But
it's
if I
vague.
tell you
It's vague.
Yeah. But now I give you 4 strategies. That's going to tell you how to get there. We had 4 pillars. And we said, our goal is to grow. The way we're going to grow is get the best product in a box, get the best customer experience, get the best brand experience, brands that work with us, and get the best influencer experience. Any idea that you have, I want you to ask yourself, what pillar am I hitting? If it doesn't hit any of the pillars, it doesn't help me grow. It's going to get me somewhere else.
Right.
I would literally go to the extent of giving them an example, showing them a road, and I say, this is a strategy, guys. This is not a tactic. And you're probably subconsciously asking yourself, what's a different strategy versus a tactic?
Right.
I asked myself that question. There is no shame.
Right.
I couldn't explain. I kind of knew, but I didn't. A strategy is a common denominator of multiple tactics. So if I tell you right now that I'm going to go and, all right, so we want to get, if my strategy is to get the best product in a box, my tactic would say, take to dinners brand owners that I want to work with them. That's tactical. Why am I doing it? Well, I develop personal relationship with them. Now they might consider me when they want to work with me. Okay, little things like that. But if I tell you, well, let's feed the home. best experience, best customer experience, best brands experience, best influencers experience, right? All those things can fall into the same place. You can throw entertainment for people like that. But if I tell you, hey, let's go and feed the homeless. Every Tuesday, we all drop what we're doing as a company, we're going to feed the homeless. Said, is that going to help me get a better product in a box? No. Mm-hmm. Is that going to help me get a better customer experience? Fuck no. Customer service is not working.
Right.
Is that going to help me get a better brand experience? No, because I'm not promoting the brand. I'm just giving food and soup. Is that going to help me get a better influencer experience? Also no. So I can say it's a great idea on a personal level. You guys can go ahead and do it. We can do it on a personal level. But as a company, it doesn't help us reach the goal.
Right.
It takes us to another place. If we all understand that, we're all goal-oriented. So all the energy, all the vectors are going into one place. We can pierce through any problem. Now when people know where they're heading and how to get there, everyone feels important, everyone has a self-actualization. You will be surprised what mountains people can move, and it doesn't all have to be on your shoulders.
Right.
Now you have a very dedicated team, and because they're so good, they find ways through everything else, and because they're so motivated, they want to bring each one of them turn into an A player.
They feel like they have equity in it. They feel like they're part of it.
And they really make a difference.
Wow, that reminds me of my best friend. I had him on here, Mike from Eat Clean. He started a business. It was he runs a meal prep company now, and he's got over 500 customers, over $1 million company, and now he's shipping meals weekly to different states. But he started with just 3 people cooking for us, and it started with 5 people and grew it to 10, grew to 20. Now, it's got 500 people, and it's interesting how there's similarities in like just scaling and how hard it is to go from tier to tier to tier. And the question I wanted to ask you is, because he had this feeling to where someone came and wanted to buy his company, but it was hard for him to let it go because it was like a child, you know what I'm saying, that he built. So did you grow an emotional attachment to BoxyCharm? Was it hard for you to like let it go? Were you very protective over it?
I have to explain something about this. You ask yourself when you run a business, you said, is that something I want to pass on to my kids? And when it comes down to subscription box, I would tell anybody, don't start a subscription box. You don't know what you're heading until you actually start. Why? You're building your own prison. The stress every month. What makes the box good is every month I need to surprise and delight. It's a discovery concept. I need to go and do better than what I did last month every month.
Yeah, it is like Christmas kind of, right?
It's like a Christmas, right? And you keep going, sleeping, thinking just about, no, I need to do different. I've had that eyeshadow palette, and that green was already there. I can do that green, and that's the only thing they haven't to get another one. And that brand was never there, and that's a dope brand. I need to get that brand. So then I can go and I'll talk to Pat McGrath, let's go grab dinner and that. You're constantly thinking, but after 7 years, you ask yourself, like, I'm going to die when I'm 50 from a heart attack. This is freaking hard. Like, I'm a human being. Now, you don't really feel the underlying stress that you're in until you actually get out of it. But you understand that it's not something I want my kids to live through.
It's not something, it's not a 9 to 5 where you could check out of it because it's yours. So
it's yours. So,
it's a kid.
But then at the same time, like, I can talk about this all day long. I was loving it. I mean, I gave something for myself when I sold this business, but I knew that there has to be a certain discipline because, there was a time to sell. Just like there's a time to enter, there's also a time to leave in this business. And I felt like it was the right momentum to sell the business. And as much as I want to, I have to go and be disciplined about that. Because I know I'm not going to want to do it for the rest of my life.
Right.
And it's not healthy. But also, I felt like there was a time that the subscription box service is...
The hype,
the hype is gone. And I can break it down into many whys, but I knew that it's time to sell. And the company that wanted to buy me, they decided to double down. And I was like, okay, perfect, let's go. And
wow. So you sell it for $500 million, and this was a 10-year thing for you. And like you said, that stress, you sell. Now what happens? Are you able to like exhale a little bit? Do you go to Europe and like disappear?
I gotta say first, the whole 500 was. I mean, I had partners.
Right.
So people think, but it was a life-changing event, obviously.
Right.
Look, so a couple things. Well, first of all, remember, I don't know if you heard about the virus, COVID.
Yeah,
It was kind of crazy, right? So first off, when I got the cash, right after that, a little bit after I bought the house, and then they opened the country, right? Everything starts opening again. And I also got separated, so it wasn't just selling the business. It's the fact that I don't have to wake up, manage so many people with the stress that everything is that okay? Did we double charge the cards by mistake? Was there an issue with this, some product? One thing, I don't have to worry about it. And then hundreds of people that you manage, no worry about that. And the second thing is, I can get out. I literally, after a year plus that we were all locked up, now I can get out. And I'm single, and you saw my place, waking up in a place where like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
I used to live on rice and ketchup.
Yeah.
So it all came together, and it took me about close to 8 months to a year until I actually felt like, what the fuck, this is amazing. I don't have to wake up for anything, and you know what? I fucking love it.
Right.
So I think for about a couple of weeks, 2 weeks or something, or a week and a half, I think I ran through everything on Netflix.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything I haven't seen and they didn't produce.
Right.
It was also that. And then eventually I started getting the itch. So I said, okay, I got to do something. After like a week and a half.
I feel like COVID taught a lot of people that. Like, before COVID, you would think to yourself, I don't want to go to work. And then you can't go to work, and you see what the alternative to not going to work is. And it's just like, how much Netflix can you watch? How much, so you realize, like, when COVID was over, I went into a gear that I never knew I had, because I was like, what's the alternative to this? Just to sit at home and, but someone gets that type of money, you still look good. I could tell you still in the gym, like you didn't let it get to your head. And I would assume that's because of the struggle that you went through, like.
Well, yeah, I'm also not, let's just say, I'm not 20 years old that I'm going to lose my head over it. So I'm more mature. I have kids, and I have other things in life that are important for me. And, you want to see, I think the biggest thing is through Breakout, where you're worried about the kids, how they're going to take it. It's just bigger than that. Right. There are things that prioritize it. By the way, you're single. You know how it is to go and do Zoom classes with a 6-year-old boy that has.
I couldn't imagine. I was talking to some friends with kids. It sounds like hell.
Like, this is not the life I want to have. And every time you see Fachi said, we have to stay home. We cannot go out. And oh no. And it might be for years. Like, oh God, this is horrible. It was bad.
That's funny, man. So you sell it, COVID happens. When you get that itch to want to do something, what's calling you at that time?
So obviously I started doing something right after. I mean, first I wanted to build financial literacy, because I was the entrepreneur. I wasn't the guy that's going to do money engineering and all that.
Like, you knew how to make the money, but you weren't too knowledgeable on what to do with it.
Yeah, so what happened is, at least me, okay, I'm 100% in one thing, and when you tell me, hey, there's something called Bitcoin, I don't have time to listen to it. Let me move on. The years are passing by. Like, hey, do you want to go and do options trading? No, I don't have to. I'm selling more boxes. Leave me alone.
Right.
So I was
I'm the same way.
I was all in, right?
Yeah.
So I said, before I start my next thing and I'm all in, let me go and make sure I know how to actually trade. Let me go and understand everything, selling long or short on futures, all those parts, right? Many others. Let me acquire knowledge about blockchain technology, everything else. So I started building projects, not companies. Until recently, I actually, instead of funding a company, I had the opportunity actually to invest in a company that I liked. Just one of a few, but this one I'm actually working with them a little bit because it's fun, but it's different. But I can't just sit down and do nothing, right? So have you watched War Dogs?
No.
You haven't watched War Dogs?
No, bro, I'm not a TV guy, bro.
No, it's not a TV. It's a
movie. Yes, I know it's a movie. I haven't seen it.
It was here in Miami. Everything. You have to watch it.
Yeah, I gotta watch it. I haven't seen it.
It's about selling to the DoD, Department of Defense, and that's a company I got into. We're not selling actual arms, but anything tactical gear or so on. So it's exciting. So
I feel like that's a good thing to invest in, just because like the tension of like the tension of like the country now.
Every country, I mean, just Germany, they doubled their military budget, and that's Germany. That's crazy. Think about it.
Yeah, I mean, we could go down that rabbit hole, but like, are you, yeah, like, I've never been like, I'm gonna get my concealed. I've never been like a gun guy, but it seems like with the tensions in the country and the way the world is working right now, and people are, feel like they got nothing to lose, and I don't know, it just feels like the tension. You feel tension, where do you see this? Do you see? I wish I was optimistic, but I'm kind of pessimistic.
So unfortunately, what I see right now is not what I used to see back then when I used to come and visit my dad in the United States. I think that the country has been divided heavily between groups, and I don't think it was coming from within as much as it was coming from outside within. So I felt like it was foreign countries that had the ability to influence the United States to kind of like break apart. If you take extremists on both sides, let them go and shoot, let them go and cause some riots, let them break. Okay, and it wasn't like that before.
I think social media naturally does that to where it forces people into like echo chambers, and that's what the algorithms do, So if I'm into like, if I like one post from this political guy, it's gonna show me all the political posts from here, and I'm gonna get opinions and things from everybody over here.
It's horrible, right? Yeah.
I can never be on one side. Like, I'm gonna be educated on what my enemy thinks. You know what I'm saying? And just kind of learn all perspectives and then come up with a conclusion. But people really just put themselves on a team and just kind of, I don't know, man.
Yeah, there's no, like, the issue for me when I listen to, say, take Fox News as the right wing and then CNN and all them are left wing. The reason you can tell that none of them is objective is because if you listen to, say, Fox News talking about Obama, there's not going to be a single positive information about Obama.
100%.
So don't tell me that you're positive. It had to be something all those years, vice versa.
I could tell you something positive about my enemy.
So exactly, right? So then you look at Trump on the media on the other side, all negative. So it's like, okay, so you want to tell me that it's all negative here, all negative there, and none of you guys is at least is subjective? No, you're both subjective. Okay, so my thing is that this is where you get your source of information. So how true is that information that I was getting? Right? It's just like, are you trying to influence me? Wonder. And so now look, when I left Israel, for years I decided I don't want to hear the news. Because you come down here and the difference is in Israel when you put the radio on, right? Before we had Spotify or you would hear the news all the time, news. So you come here, you just hear music, like salsa 98.3. Like back then, it was like, and you listen to salsa, no interruptions, unless there's a nuclear bomb. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna stop for 2 seconds. No more New York City. Nuclear bomb. Boom. God forbid, right?
Yeah.
So, but then just music, and I said, this is freaking amazing. I love it. So for years I haven't listened to anything. And then, like you said, social media came in there, shoving it down your throat because one time you looked at this and you said, so I stop myself sometimes from looking because that's how the algorithm stopped showing me the stories or so on. But then it's hard. It still comes. Like, how do you not? Like, then eventually your friends want to talk about this because their algorithm.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like it's coming from your friends.
I think the trick is just trying to use social media to produce and not to consume. I try to just put my thing and run from it, but it's hard. Like,
it's very hard.
Elon. So one of the first changes Elon did on Twitter is that, I don't know if you have Twitter, but the natural algorithm is like Facebook or Instagram, anything. It's going to show you what they think you engage with the most. But then Elon put an option to where you could switch it and put your tweets back to chronological order.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I did that right away because I looked at the difference. And when you put it to like the regular algorithm, it's just girls, bro. I'm like, damn, I'm not like how do they, like, they know what my weakness is to make me stay on that shit, And I put it back and I'm like, it's like regular, just...
You know something about the change from chronological and Instagram. So there was a hack where you were able to grow if you had a lot of people coming in to your site and you say, hey, do you want to buy XYZ? And you would go and put them through a funnel where they think they're about to buy, and then when they're about to buy, say, thank you, now you joined the wait list. if you still want to buy, just follow us on Instagram. So we would go and have them click on it, and then we would make them follow. So you would make them follow whatever you want to follow, right? So at the time, Ipsy, the company that acquired me, had this brilliant guy working over there. His name is Simon. And in 2014, I saw what he did. I said, this guy's good. What he did was he would go and get you on a wait list, supposedly. And you say, if you want to skip the wait list, just click here. And he would make you follow some of their creators.
He would tell you there's a wait list and then tell you how to skip the wait list to get you to
They really had a wait list, but then they didn't have a wait list, but they still kept it. But what they did was they wanted to promote some influencers. So what they would do is they would tell you, just follow them. So you would click automatically. They had API permission. At the time, it was okay to do it with Facebook, where you would go in and get people to follow automatically 4 or 5 people at once. But because the algorithm was chronological, imagine you have no idea that you just follow 4 girls that a minute ago they didn't have that many followers. Now they have 1 million followers all of a sudden, and 1 million people follow them. But it's gonna push it into your feed because it's chronological, and they became boom. So now, obviously, they're also good in what they did,
right?
So they were actually good. So they blew up, and that changed their life. It was a really good strategy that you look. So chronologically, it was pretty interesting. I mean, there's quite a few growth hacking tactics that have transformed companies to be huge. There was another one called Badoo. It was a dating site. I think they were from Eastern Europe, and they were growing like a little bit every year, 2 million a year, 2 million, 0.2, something like that, right? And again, I'm giving information from a friend of mine that knows them. But one day, I'm getting on Facebook, and I'm talking years ago, Johnny said something about you. Do you want to see what he said? Click here.
I see. Yep, I see.
You remember that, right?
Yep.
They used those API permissions where they were able to download a Facebook, kind of like an app, where what they would do is, as soon as you would say yes, automatically you would take all your information, you would give them permission to use all your information, submit it into their website, and automatically send an email and a DM to everyone that you follow, said, Casey, just answer some questions about you. Click here to say yes, and that would just go on forever. So they went from, what happened is, suddenly they have your profile, geo-targeted to where you live. Boom, Casey is single. Here is all the information. They pull it out of Facebook. Bam, now you're going to start getting DMs from relevant girls. Oh, shit, you have a girlfriend. Yeah. Oh, she broke up with you. Who the fuck cares? But we increased our database. They grew from 2 million, from what I hear, to 100 million, like this.
Clickbait off like emotion, try to like get your emotionality.
All it takes is creativity and understanding the API permissions. Now, what do you do after 6 months, a year? They no longer have those permissions, they change it. However, how do you keep getting those permissions? You go to all those little companies that had those quizzes on Facebook that were using those permissions, but they got grandfathered in. So you'd buy those little motherfuckers. You said, hey, do you want 50 grand? I'll buy your quiz. Oh, sure, 50 grand. I don't even make money on that quiz. Sure.
But you're buying all the information.
But you're getting that, so now you make $1 billion business like that.
With everyone's information, yeah.
Well, you get the API permission. So because you have the API permission, you can say, okay, so now I can create a web where I can go and say, I want to go and build up a name of a company where it's going to be recurring revenue or it's going to be whatever. I can go in and send an email. Hey, Johnny, just answer a couple questions about you. Do you want to see it? Yes, boom. So now you basically get to create awareness for free.
Wow.
They call it growth hacking tactic, right? So that was part of how I was fascinated with. When I was growing my liquidation business, I was trying to create link baits. So people would go and create links for my site. So Google would go and give me high scores, and then I would rank. So if you would search whatever I wanted, if you search how to buy clothing by the pallet, I wanted to be number 1 for free. So you need a lot of links. So until I got on Forbes and I figured out how to get on those major, I didn't know how to do it, and I just needed a lot of people linking to me. So then the SEO score is going to go up. So ultimately, what it does is it builds your critical thinking when you start seeing it. So then eventually, when you see some kind of an ad or a weird game, you look at this and you say, okay, that's just a game, but I can use that for something else. Or oh, that's a good marketer right there. Let me see who's this company. They're going to be big. So you kind of, because you can go and see, you have a different view of.
Damn, bro, shit is changing so much now. You got the metaverse. You a stock guy?
If I put money in the stock market?
Yeah, are you into the market? Like,
well, I am, but not much. I don't know if you saw my stories around early January or mid-January. I said I'm pulling out of the stock market completely. I see a crash.
move.
Yeah,
Shit.
it's just obvious. I got in a little bit on the day of the invasion because it was really, really down, and then I pull in and out a couple times. But let's just say that since I pulled out, I'm perhaps 7% of the kind of money that I had before. Because if you don't see a bear market, then you're complete blind. Like if you didn't see it back then, like you're not. You have to see a bear market. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna tell me what goes up always goes up. Like, no, it's gonna go down.
Yeah. How worse do you see it getting? Do you see it getting better? Like, I mean, I think we've gone worse, or we've just equated the same as the 2020 crash during the pandemic when it crashed. I think it dropped the same amount so far. Yeah, so I mean, is it still going to drop? I think it's the worst start to the year in like 20 years, I think.
So, definition for recession is 2 negative quarters in a row. That's basically what it is. So if you had one quarter that was negative and then the second one, that basically means a recession. I think that unlike 2009 and 2001, we don't have inflation going alongside unemployment. So there is no real unemployment. That's one thing. However, we're running into a situation that we didn't really have before, because in 2009, there was no real money that was pumped into the economy the same way that it is now, not at the same scale, and not to mention 2001. But every time you have any type of drop, it's fast, right? It just takes a while to go back up. That's why the March 2020 doesn't count for me. It's a hiccup. It's not the same. It's not like there was an actual conditions for. Now it's a real recession coming in or whatever. It's about time. They overprint money, or maybe not really, because they wanted to prevent other catastrophes without. Who knows, right? What would have been if they did put the money? It could have been much worse, right?
Right.
So I don't like to guess, because you're trying to guess the VIX numbers, like how is going to be the fear factor. Really, the fear is everything over there. It's a big place. I don't think we should gamble on that one. But I think that we haven't seen the bottom yet completely. It might be a little bit more, might be a lot more. But I think it's just a matter of fear. Like, and if it is the bottom of it, then I'll say, well, we got lucky, because look at the S&P where it was 2 years ago. It was much lower. I think it was much lower. Right? So there's more room to go to kind of like create an even trade. So
I mean, we're about to be at the second. You said 2 negative quarters. We're about to be at the second negative quarter. So, do you see just a recession coming? Do you see?
Oh, it's there, right? I mean, if we finish by June, finishing. If you take the 3 months, right? So it's April, May, June. Okay, so maybe June is going to be okay, but if April and May are negative, and then June didn't pick us up from where April started, then it's considered a negative quarter. So even if we are doing better, if we are going to do better, hopefully in June, I just don't make a big issue out of it, because it's like, damn, we kind of need a little bit correction in reality, and maybe on a personal level, like. You can't just keep going up and think it's going to go up forever.
Yeah.
So it's like it's obvious. Let it get it over with, and hopefully it's going to get better.
What stocks do you like? Are you a big Tesla guy? What are you?
Well, with Tesla, long term, I see the potential. The only issue I have with Tesla is like, look, if Elon Musk dies tomorrow.
Yeah, because the Russians are coming for him. I don't know if you saw that tweet.
Or whatever, he's not taking care of himself. He's gaining weight right now, whatever it is, right? Or whatever. He fall off the stairs, or the FTC decide to fuck him up because they don't like him. Something happens to him, right? It's like a single point of failure, for my opinion.
So it's not like Steve Jobs dying and Apple still being able to like
No, because Steve Jobs was amazing, but the thing is with Tesla, there is the company itself is an amazing company, right? Tesla, a car is just one piece of it, and everybody understand that. It's not like really a car. It's
Right, they're about to mine lithium and like
everything, right? AI, Optimus,
robots and shit. Yeah.
But without Elon Musk, if you wake up one day and they announce that Elon Musk is dead, God forbid.
Yeah.
Okay, what's going to be the value of the stock? Do you understand the fear that's going to be in the market? People are going to run.
Yeah. Well, the fear of the world, like that's like, you know.
So,
I mean, they say, you know, the people that are bullish on it, you know, you put your money will 10x by 2030. You know,
and that's very possible.
Right.
It's very possible. Like, I'm not going to go and buy it, but I'm not going to short it.
Gotcha.
Because I can't tell, like, Elon Musk is not a regular. You have this guy once every couple generations, right? So it's not a regular guy, and he has a big plan, and I want to see him. So I put a little bit in it, but I'm not going to go on.
I don't see, and I was having this conversation the other day about just EVs in general, and I don't see, you know, you got BMW, you got all these classic car companies trying to enter the EV world, but it seems like I look at EVs more as like technology more than I do as a car. Like I feel like Apple came in, when they come in and come out with their car, that's going to be more competition for Tesla than say a BMW or a Ford or a Cadillac, you know? That's just the way I'm conceptualizing EVs. It's more about technology to me than the actual car. But
have you seen what they did when it comes down to Neuralink?
What do you specifically?
So he owns a company called Neuralink.
Right, they're gonna put some shit in your brain.
Yeah. So Neuralink, what he's trying to do is actually say, well, if I can go and create the ability to, if you're paralyzed,
Right.
things that don't exist, right? Little things like that, right? So it's like so much contribution to what we have in our life. And he said this year, the end of next year, right? So I went to LA like a few months ago. It was interesting to an NFT event, and it was so I'm checking in, and there was this really nice girl over there in the front also checking in. We're both talking. What do you do? She's private equity. What do you do? I said. Nothing actually right now, like hard to explain what I do. But, like, I'm going to an NFT event. She said, okay, cool. So we're talking, and she said, okay, so what do you guys invest in? And she tells me, deep tech.
Deep tech, that's the terminology.
Do you know what's a deep tech? I have no idea.
Yeah, no.
What the hell is that?
Sounds kind of scary.
So, oh, wow, how deep is it?
Yeah. Well.
So she tells me, well, you know about Elon Musk, what he does. And, oh, yeah. She said, well, we do the same thing, but non-invasive. So we technically put some patches on your head.
Jeez.
And you're connected to a computer, so you want to speak Portuguese in a minute, bam, you're good. Things like that. I said, no, you got to be kidding me. She said, yes, come to London. I'm going to show it to you. So anyway, I need to go to London. But imagine, things like this is coming. I mean, we're talking about something that's going to come. Like increase your ability to process information. Imagine if you can process information plus put human intelligent, not just AI, right? Just actual human intelligent alongside AI, and you have all the speed in the world to process any information. What kind of capacity you're going to have to actually decide what stock to invest in? Who's going to be better? Who do you think is going to be better then?
Yeah.
How crazy is that, right?
I mean, first of all, a couple of things on that. I think they're a little more talk than they are than they are.
She said you come over and you're going to see it.
I got it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I have to see it. I have to see it. If you come in that shit and start speaking Japanese, then I'll fucking...
Man, no, but once you plug it out, you don't have that. That's different, right? Elon Musk said, no, it stays with you.
Right.
It's cheap, but yeah.
I got to see how... And then, do you think humans are going to be just receptive to that type of shit? Like just... I mean, maybe the invasive one.
People weren't receptive to microwave in the beginning. It was $1,500. I'm talking in the 80s or so. And they said, well, lasers, we're going to get cancer. They didn't understand that there is no cancer from... Up until now, they think that if you're close to your microwave, you're going to get cancer. I bet you're going to go right now in a building, tell people, hey, do you think... No, there is no fucking cancer because they don't understand how it works.
Right.
So the idea is that the first generation might be apprehensive, but the thing is, even Elon said, look, if you go and you implant a chip, it's for people with problems, right? It's people that are sick, that they cannot walk, they can have, I don't know, Alzheimer or so on. That's supposed to fix them. Okay, but then after that, you can go and look at everything.
But you always have the evil side that gets used for the black market, the shit that gets used for.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
That's gonna be crazy. We talked off air. We want to talk about that. We were talking about the housing market and real estate and stuff. And you said, it's not gonna. I was hoping, that it would crash a little sooner because I'm ready to buy a property. But you were telling me that you're saying
for Miami, I give it 3 years, unless the market changes and the Russians are attacking us over here, like that. But
like they come from Cuba and shit.
And I love Russians, by the way. I mean, I'm Israeli and so many Russian friends. But the thing is, the way I see it is, you look at the skyline Miami and you see all those cranes.
We're the third tallest building, the third tallest city in the United States.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
behind Chicago and New York.
We're catching up, right? But if you look at all the buildings and the high-rise that are coming in, they're going to relieve a lot of the demand needs, right? But it would take a couple of years to get to it, right? Add supply chain and everything else. So some of them already started, some are not. But you're going to start seeing on a micro side. In Miami, right? Because I can't tell you what's going to be across the United States. There's going to be, because of interest rate going up, it's going to be harder for people. People are not going to buy houses the same way, right? But specifically in Miami, and it's been very cyclical. They always come down in Brickell and downtown Miami, and they put all those high rises when it's hot. 4 years later, they all get stuck with some, and they move it slower than they thought.
Yeah, but for the pandemic, it was like 1 in 3 units in Brickell were vacant. Like before the pandemic.
And how is it now?
Now, I mean, I don't know the numbers now.
Nothing available, right?
Yeah, there's no inventory.
Yeah, so they're creating new inventory because people actually occupied this and they stayed for good. But they're building a lot. So what I'm saying is any shift you're going to see, and I don't think it's going to be a crash, but any shift you're going to see would take about 3 years because every building has so many units. All of them are going to be available, plus the organic availability that's being created in the market. Right? That anything that they're building is better than the old ones that they have built.
Right.
So who's going to be kind of like for sale? The older ones. Right? They're going to be cheaper. Right? That's the evolution of that's a product life cycle. Right? That was so you're going to see in 3 to 4 years, and it's going to accelerate every time when more and more projects are coming. Because I get calls and I'm not in real estate. I'm just a guy that some people know, and they said, hey, we're buying this land. We need to put $12 million. Do you want to come in at whatever capacity? It's going to be a 40. So I did the first building, and they keep coming with more buildings.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that if I'm getting those, I get already 2 or 3, and I only took one of them because I said, all right, I took one from a year ago. I don't want to be in 2-3 years from now, then that would 4 or 5 years. And by then it's going to be too many buildings because I've seen Miami. I've seen how it happened over here. So I want to be one of the first ones that are finishing our buildings. I know we're selling it. We're good. I don't want to be 2 years later coming in with more buildings and
I'm curious to see what happens when we get, because we're due for a hurricane, like a real hurricane. And I'm curious to see, all these people that come here from other places, how they,
But they came to live here. This is not 09. 09, people were we would buy 30 units because it was 0 down payment or 2% down payment. And everyone took a balloon loan where the first 3 years is a very, very low interest rate and so on. And then came those 3 years, they have to come up with a bigger deposit. They have to come up with, suddenly they couldn't afford it. The market was down and then everyone collapsed and you had 30 units. So you lost everything you didn't even have. In this case, people really bought it to live in it. The traffic that you get now is not what we had 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a correction, but I don't see a crash necessarily. I see just a correction. It's going to go down a little bit.
They need to fix the infrastructure here, though, for sure. Because it's like the third world country infrastructure with first world buildings.
We're all good until it wasn't good.
And then the flooding is fucking crazy.
Did you see in New York City, right? New York City, impossible to move. You can take 45 minutes to move 2 miles during the day, 2 miles. Are they working on their infrastructure? Where are they? I don't see anything. No one is. Are they fixing their subway? Are they doing another layer under the subway? No one is doing that. But you see more high rises.
Yeah.
This is a curse of every city. That's why I think if you want to put your money, get the hell out of Miami, put it in the Fort Lauderdale area, put it in some other place.
Puerto Rico.
No, but don't go too far. You can do Puerto Rico, by the way. Yeah, Puerto Rico.
You're saying like an outlet city.
Yeah, go a little bit outside. I'm not saying it's not. It's already overpriced over here.
Right.
So a place like, say, Las Olas, right? You can still buy places for a fair, decent price on the water.
Right.
But then you're going to see all the high-rises coming in. They're building the infrastructure over there. They're making it better. It's going to be kind of like I would say 20% Miami type with much more entertainment. It's already great, right? But imagine, it's going to be impossible to buy properties on the water, no matter how many canals they have over there.
Yeah. There's only so much water.
Because you can walk to Las Olas, you can walk to the beach from where I live. Those properties are not going to be the same. I felt like it's still a way to steal it, but you come down Miami, it's 3-4 times more expensive.
Yeah, that's crazy. You've gone all different places. You're a South Florida guy. Like, you love South Florida. You don't see yourself living anywhere else?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I do it around my kids, right, or wherever they are. When they're gonna be 20 plus, living wherever they want to live, I can't tell you where I'm gonna be. But I feel like I have to be around my kids. They're going to school, so if we have to move with the kids to New York, I'll move to New York. I never want to get out of Florida. Don't get me wrong. I think it's the place. We hit it at the right time over here. We've been through a renaissance time, and we haven't seen the best yet. I think it gets better and better.
It's still a baby. Like,
it's amazing. It's amazing.
And as the politics get even more divided, I think we're on the good side of the politics. I think people are coming here because the political side of it is half of it.
If you put aside the politic between, DeSantis talking about abortion, put all that aside. Right. Let's talk about what we do agree on. Because I don't say agree or disagree, because that's not my point, right? Right now, you basically coming in with a point where you're the first one to say there is no need to put a mask when you're going to the beach. People thought he was crazy.
Right.
No, it wasn't crazy. He said, I'm saying it because there is no data to say that anyone needs it, and the hospitals are empty. That was back then. If it's going to get crowded, no more going to the beach. But right now, we need to let them, okay, now beach was working, no one is coming sick, okay, now let's open a little bit the rest. It was the first place. And my thing was that, how long will it take for all the other states to catch up with where Florida was? Those years, it would take a while, right? So now everything was, everyone I think the leadership was great. Mayor of Miami, Francis Suarez, great guy. Meeting him personally, I think that it's unique, right? There aren't too many mayors that want to meet anyone that actually can influence the city in one way. So the fact you want to meet with me, with many of my friends that did something big, that created jobs over here, shows a lot. And you can tell when someone is genuine, by the way, and versus a politician. So I think we got lucky with the right people.
Yeah, and I always say, especially South Florida, especially Miami, I feel like we're a good balance of just the left and the right. A lot of places you go, it's super left or it's super right. But in Miami, you got a balance, and I think balance is key. Because
it's melting pot, right? If you had one type of demographic over here, it's very easy to demonize the ones that you don't really see or you don't really know. If you live around Hispanics, blacks, Jews, everything, right? Because it's very, suddenly you humanize them. And when you humanize them, they get along. And that's why it's easier. It's not divided like you've seen this in perhaps LA, where it's very segregated. This is the bad area over here. This is all the Hispanics area, but that's the hood for the Hispanics. This is the other hood. This is the Blood. This is the Crips. No, it's not like that.
Everyone stays on their side over there. Here, it's
it's very much of a melting pot, and that's why you didn't see that much. They were trying to create more tension, but it was nothing like we've seen in.
I've said this a lot of times. It feels like over here in Miami, we don't deal with, which is why I don't think I see myself leaving, but we don't deal with. It almost seems like we're another country in Latin America more so than we are another city in the United States. It feels like we don't deal with all the other bullshit that...
La República de la Florida.
Hey, yeah. It seems like we don't deal with all the other bullshit that, they're dealing with in the country.
Did you learn Spanish?
Yeah.
So you're fluent?
Yeah, I'm conversational. I wouldn't say I'm fluent, but I'm conversational. I can have a conversation.
But you're American, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
In 2015, I did radio for 8 years on Power 96, and then in 20...
Oh, you did that?
Yeah, I was with DJ Laz, and I grew up around Hispanics, Latins my whole life, and I always had a good accent, like I could imitate certain people, but when 2015 happened, I noticed Spanish music starting making a comeback. I started seeing J Balvin, and the Colombians started making reggaeton, and it was getting plays in Miami, and it was like the rebirth of reggaeton. And then the politics with the radio, I wasn't really feeling how it was going, because they were bringing like guys from Wisconsin and like, you know, white guys, and they were kind of like diluting the culture of what the radio should sound like here. So I quit, and it was the first time. I never went to college because I went right to the radio after high school. It was the first time where I could leave and do something. And I was like, I saw like a stock. I saw the Latin, I saw it about to blow up. So I was like, bro, let me go. I moved to Colombia. I moved to Medellin.
How long you been there?
I've been there 10 times, but
No, how long did you live there?
I lived, well, always goes back and forth, but I lived there for like 3 months.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
Just like that, you decided to go over there.
Yeah. Well, my friend took me there. Right when I was about to quit radio for the first time, leaving the country. I was in Colombia, beautiful women, good vibes, and I'm a very extroverted person. Like, I like cracking jokes and stuff, and I couldn't speak to anybody, and I hated it. So I came back over here, and I was like, you know what? I'm quitting radio, and let me leave. So I did that investment, and I did 3 months, took Spanish classes. I DJ'd in Medellin, and then I came back over here, and I would do baselang.com, $100 a month, unlimited Skype sessions with teachers in Venezuela. You do 30-minute blocks, or you could do 8 hours.
No way.
And I would be there for 7 hours a day, just talking to people in Colombia, like just practicing it. And then it's like the gym. You go and you start to see results. So then I did a video of me speaking Spanish. What I would do is you learn a lot through music. So what I would do is, because I'm a DJ.
Was that the movie? I think I saw your video where you did something where you did the Don Omar or something.
Yeah, that was later. That was way later. But I did a first video of, so what I would do is I would, you know, grammar and that shit is easy. What's hard to do is get your tongue to be able to make the sounds of another language. So what I would do is I would go on Snapchat or Instagram and film while I'm driving, film maybe 10 seconds of a song. I would film it, and then before I post it, you know, it just plays over and over and over. So I would just not post it and put it there, and it would go over and over and over. And I would just, while I'm driving, just sit until I can say it exactly how the song goes. And I did that with like 10 songs. So I was able to say like 10 different songs in Spanish.
Damn.
And I did a video of me just putting all those songs together and saying them all back. And it got, on Facebook, it's got 10 million views right now.
Really?
Yeah.
When did you put? When did
that? That was in 2017, and then Alex Sensation, a big DJ in New York, posted it. And yeah, that shit blew up. So when I saw that, I was like, the white guy that speaks Spanish is like a unicorn. You know, like no one sees that. So it's like the gym. I was like, I'm going. Sure. It motivated me and put the battery in my back to just go crazy with it, bro. Then next thing you know, on Sundays, I'll go to Típico, and I like to, you know, I'm in the club all the time, but when I'm not working, I like to go to Spanish spots. So then I'm like, fuck it, let me learn to dance. And I'm good at bachata. So then I have another video dancing bachata that has, you know, 100,000 views, and people see me and they start calling me Tigre Blanco. Next thing I know.
How do you call you?
El Tigre Blanco. Like
Tigre Blanco, that's Dominican. That's a Dominican way to say.
When I speak Spanish, I sound Dominican. All my friends are Dominican. All my exes are Dominican. So
my ex-wife is Dominican.
Yeah, Dominican women I'm trying to take a break from Dominican women, but yeah, so now next thing now, fast forward, I'm doing a lot of Spanish parties now. Half my parties are all Spanish. I'm going to Colombia. I did it in April. I'm going back June 24th. I'll be in Medellin, DJing over there again for the weekend. And yeah, there's just, you know. Well,
there's something that's so what you said, because when you speak English, you know, you're expected to speak English. Everyone in the world speaks English, right? But when you finally speak Spanish or different Spanish, right? For me, because I took Spanish classes and now I'm also conversational. I was obsessed with salsa, and that's how I got into it. It was in my country. So I noticed that they're so happy when someone is speaking Spanish,
because it's not
so open for that.
Because when say a Latin person comes to the United States and wants to learn English, it's kind of like financially motivated, you know, you want to better your life. But when you see someone who lives in a first world country want to learn Spanish, it's like, why are you doing that? What's the reason you're doing that? You must really be genuine. There's something about you that's really, you know. And I mean, for me, it was just to impress women at the end of the day. But you know,
hey, listen, whatever gives you the motivation. I mean, it's a tool, right? What you're saying about that, like, it's a tool. If you go out there and you go to a place with a bunch of Hispanic guys, and that's what I've noticed. Also, it's that. Okay, because you speak Spanish, they don't expect perfection, but they said, okay, now you're more special. I expect all the Latinos to speak it, but why you speak it? Okay, that's unique. I want to hear more. Now he's an interesting guy. He's cultured.
And he's genuine. Exactly. Like you could, and that's another thing. As soon as you see me speak Spanish, you can know the type of person I am. Like it says so much about me. You know what I'm saying? I'll never forget. I was in Colombia, and I was in Cartagena, and I was in like a store, and it was some fat white guy that had all his money out. He had like $1,000. He's like, "Give me this, da da da, give me this, da da da." And I wanted to fight him. You know what I'm saying? And just
because you open up for their culture and you like it, and also the guys are also coming in like, come on, let's go grab a beer, because they're like, bam, 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 so you're like, you're part of the clan over there, and they all want to hear about it. So it obviously gives us the rewards. It's a very, very good crowd. I think Miami is a very special crowd. I think the fact that when you go to New York City, many times you see Puerto Ricans and Dominicans don't speak Spanish. They really embrace the American culture, the New Yorker culture, but over here it's not. They all speak Spanish.
I think we're the only city where I think maybe I don't know we're one of the only cities in the United States that white people are the minority.
Oh, really?
So yeah, Spanish in Miami, Hispanics are like, I think it might be at 70%
probably more than Miami.
Right
it's
now.
like the South, yeah. It's like
so
huge,
when you go to a place like New York where it's mostly white people, the Latins over there get, you know, whitewashed or whatever you want to say, you know. But you come over here, and that's why I love it here, because the Hispanic, the Latin culture is so humble. The people come from third world, come from third world countries, you know, and
yeah, like I took. I went to the BCC before I went to FIU, Broward Community College, and I remember that I had a friend over there, and he was Puerto Rican, and I was like all excited because for me, Puerto Rican music, listen, I love it, and I start telling him names of. So he looked at me like, I don't do that, I don't dance salsa, and said, okay, but you speak Spanish? Because I just started taking some Spanish classes, and said, I don't speak Spanish. He looked at me.
Puerto Ricans, a lot of Puerto Ricans are like
yes, and I said, what do you mean? You should be happy. It's an awesome culture, man. But it was from New York, and then when you see that doesn't happen here in Florida. Right. That's a thing. So we were able to learn, right? Because if you come in with broken Spanish at first, they'll go and they'll correct you, and they'll talk to you, and they'll be happy, and they'll encourage you, right? They give us so much encouragement. So that's a nice
sense
thing.
Because that's why I go to Colombia a lot, because I look at it as like my midterm test. Because over here I'll speak Spanish, and a lot of times they'll just speak back to me in English.
Yeah.
But if I
go to Hialeah. You should go to Hialeah. That happened to me. I opened my office in Hialeah, and they just don't speak English, right? So they would be speaking to me in Spanish. So it's like, okay, good. So that's when I started speaking more. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because they'll revert back in English.
Yeah. And it's crazy, like just learning a language when I was like, 27 or whatever. It's crazy that to like be able to hear songs that you grew up with and you know what they said. Now you know what they say.
Mess up the songs.
And there's so many different ways to like. I think that it ruined my English a little bit learning Spanish.
Oh,
and
really?
you notice why. And you notice how certain things like. Being bilingual is tough because you mix up certain things in certain languages. That's why I say anybody who makes fun of someone for their accent and you only speak one language, you have no right to do so. You can't make fun of no one's accent if you only speak one language.
Well, I have a friend that he told me that someone made fun of him because he only speaks English. And it was kind of funny because I was like, well, how many languages do you speak? So the guy told him, I speak 2 or 3. She was like, oh, good. So is my landscaper.
That's funny. Bro.
Yeah.
So is there anything else? What are you working on now? Where's your mind at now? What's your head on now?
I told you about one company. I have other little projects, but I think that right now I don't have the big what. It's fairly fast. I just got into
timing is everything too. The worst thing to do is force something that you don't.
Yeah, I mean it's the what is gonna come, but I enjoy I work every day. I do stuff every day, right? Managing money is also something that you gotta get skilled at, and you have to get experience at. And I'm involved in multiple private companies. Actually, cool. It's not a project because I'm completely passive on this one, but when I sold, I told my previous partner, I said, look, guys, tell me how I park my money. Said, just give me something because that's what you guys are good at. So they said, well, we have this investment if you want to come in. It's really cool. And it's a company that manufactures cans, like Coca-Cola cans, right? They broke it down to me why everything is going to move to aluminum and cans, because it's actually recyclable versus plastic, that it's a waste. And say some states are about to ban any plastic,
Are
anything.
there less toxins in aluminum? Like, is there all that plastic and no plastic?
Not as much as a plastic.
Right. I would imagine.
Right, pick your poison, right? And you can recycle the aluminum. So the idea, so they had this kombucha company that they did very well, and they sold it to PepsiCo for a couple $100 million, and they wanted to open another one. And that's when they found out that there's a problem now canning your drinks. And you have to stand in line, and the fillers are just having those old machinery compared to, say, Coca-Cola that has their own machines that are fast, efficient, and all that. So you're kind of like at the bottom of the food chain in this one. And they said, why don't we just come up with our own manufacturing line for that? So they came up with that, and now we have the fastest line in the country.
Manufacture cans, just
Manufacturing cans, but we're sold already. It's a very predictable model where you're already sold for a couple of years. So year one, you gross 100 million with 30 million in profit. Year two, you already know where you're going to be because you get all the orders. It's 80 million in profit with 200. So, it's so fast because I told them, guys, it took me so long to get to those numbers in BoxyCharm. This is a better investment.
Wow.
It's just to show you that you can come up with a company that, like BoxyCharm, will walk in, and if you see a pretty girl or something like that, or girls, they would know the company because they're into makeup.
Right.
At least now. Maybe in years they're not going to, it's not as popular, but now. And all that. And you have a company that grows a couple $100 million, and so many people know about it, it's great. Or you can come up with this B2B side business to business, no one knows, but it's going to be $1 billion business, and no one's going to know about it.
Right.
And in half of the time. So there are other ways to skin a cat. And
Right.
Yeah, so that's why,
people say the first million is the hardest to get to, then it gets easier after that. Is that fact?
True, so true. I can divide my life, the before and after the first million.
Wow.
I can live, not my life, but as an entrepreneur.
What makes it easier? Just because you have more money to leverage? Is that
Your head. Your head. Everything is in your head. Look, I can't tell you how many hours I keep trying to go back in time and say, what made me the way I wasn't like that. I wasn't the same guy. What made me like this? What made me go? I was kind of comfortable in my first business for a while until I had the first million. Literally. And like, what made me like this? Oh, I figured I started operating different. My expectation for myself, there was, everything changed, but I'm trying to go to the root of it, and I can't tell you that I completely found
where
it.
the switch flip?
I think there was one particular thing that I'm holding in right now, and I think that there was one conversation I had with someone. So I had a competitor / a guy that I do business with / a friend in Texas that had the same liquidation type business, but much bigger. And it was longer in business, but he had zero internet exposure. Unlike me, that I could sell anything online and bring people from all over the world to buy it. But I remember that one time I spoke to him, I want to say it was around 2008. And I told him, we were talking about something, and he said, well, the way I'm making my millions is blah, blah, blah. And I told him, you mean you're grossing millions, but you're not actually making millions by the end of the year to your pocket? He said, no, I do. And then he broke it down every year, how much he's making. And at that time, I was thinking hundreds of thousands. I wasn't thinking millions, right? And I said, and I wasn't even counting how much money I was making by the end of the year. I wasn't really thinking like that because I put everything back in operating capital. But he actually pulled money out. And I said, what the fuck? And I didn't understand why it affected me so much, because after that day, everything changed in my company. And I said, and you could see it grow from $1 million to 2 to 5 to 10.
Just
and
by
then
seeing his...
he was in Texas, not even seeing. And it's just, and then BoxyCharm, it was easy for me to grow it to 100 million, it's very fast, to 100.
Right.
But that phone call made a difference. And I asked myself, but why? And I think that if you go and you show me right now, Bill Gates and all, it's just far out. You don't even humanize those people. You idolize them. It's just, you're not thinking that you're in the same stratosphere. The conditions were not the same, right? So what happened is your subconscious and your conscious, the way they communicate with each other, your conscious said, I want to go and do it. I can do it. Give me some motivation. Your subconscious is what gives you the motivation. You're getting no motivation because I'm protecting you from a failure. You did good up until now. Keep on doing what you did up until now. Okay, keep selling on eBay. But why? I can go, no, keep doing that. No motivation for that. So you don't do it.
No motivation to change, like to
Change,
shift
right?
direction.
To change, right? Because you idolize them. But in his case, I was doing business with him every day. I knew that he has nothing on me. Just because he's been a couple of years before, he's a dinosaur. I have websites. I get people from all over the world coming. I have the same contracts like him. Why? And he's making that much? I knew he grossed, but I didn't really think. I didn't think about it. But why did I change when he said that? It's because I humanized him. He's doing what I'm doing and nothing better than what I'm doing. He's doing it in my industry. It's not like he create some SaaS that I know nothing about. That's a different space.
Right.
It's my space. It's my natural habitat. And it's the same exact type animal. And that's when I got all the motivation.
Removed all your doubts.
I removed the doubts. Here's all my subconscious said, you wanted motivation, and now I agree. You're correct. Here it is, all the motivation. And
you realize there's no secrets. He's a human. Just do what you're like.
Yeah. And then I needed that. Now I can go and show you a bunch of tactical reasons where I grew here and there, where someone came and gave me an idea and I said, oh shit, I didn't think about it. Oh shit. All those little things that are important, that are instrumental, but still there was some kind of a wall that I couldn't pass until I saw that. But then that wall broke it from 1 million to 500 million. That wall, everything moved. So...
Interesting, bro. Yeah. Plug your social media for everybody, your Instagram and anything you want to promote where they can follow you.
YFL Martin.
YFL Martin, there it is. I appreciate you coming through, bro.
Problem, brother.
Love, brother. Bro, one of these days, let's go to Típico and hear some salsa and stuff,
vamos a hacer una noche de salsa. ¿Tú bailas salsa bien?
Sí, está limitado. Mi bachata está mejor, pero salsa es...
¿Baila bachata mejor?
Sí.
Eres un tigre, ¿no?
Yeah.
No hablamos de un cubano aquí. No,
de las cubanas me dolió, bro, porque tengo una historia, pero...
¿Sí?
Yeah, te voy a decir off air.
Okay.
But appreciate you, brother.
Man, same here, man.